I guess the question is, are you into moral victories? Good showing brings hope. Couldn't get the W, though. So we march on to more Big Ten play with Michigan State this week. You have found Nebraska Huskers live here at the Voice of College Football. Welcome in. We got Greg Peterson on the line, of course. Also, Abby Barmore from Husker Online as well. How we all doing tonight?
Excellent.
Pretty good.
Very nice. Very nice. I think Nebraska fared better than most people anticipated. Certainly Vegas, one-score game, had the ball with about a minute left to try to tie it, Greg. So, again, it's not what everybody was looking for in terms of a upset win, but the team played pretty well, obviously, to hang with the third or fourth ranked team in the country, but also shot itself in the foot a number of times and still was able to stay in the game.
Absolutely. That's the biggest takeaway from it. I think most people coming into Saturday morning were thinking that Oklahoma was going to blow the doors off of Nebraska. But guess what? Nebraska came to play, and a very proud Nebraska team that expected to win that ball game. And, you have some mistakes. You leave points out there. You miss 2 field goals, and then you get a extra point blocked that goes back for 2 points. So, that's a swing of 9 points right there. And guess what? It was a 7-point ball game right there towards the end. And if that defense could have gotten a stop, could have got off the field a little bit sooner, Nebraska had a heck of a chance to go in there and put that game into overtime. And I think a lot of people that haven't watched Nebraska play sees that Nebraska has a pretty darn good defense, especially a defense that best defense that Oklahoma's played in 5 years. If you go through the statistics. So, Nebraska came in there and barring some mistakes, they should walk out of there with a win. And you got to just hang your heads high, and I think the team is. I mean. The last 2 days that we've been around the team and stuff, and 3 days for me actually, and everybody's extremely proud of the effort that they put in, and they believe that they're just as good as Oklahoma, and they're expecting to go down into East Lansing this Saturday and come out of there with a W, and a convincing W. The way I'm kind of reading these guys right now.
Yeah, Levi Folk today, he said, the wide receiver, he said, eliminating those mistakes, we can play and beat anybody in the country, even the number 3 team. So I think they are really high on this moral victory. They're not taking it as a moral victory, but they do feel good about themselves with that showing that they had, minus those mistakes. And then also leading up to that whole week for the Oklahoma game, a lot of the players said, why not shock the world? Like, why don't we do this? We literally have nothing to lose. And I think they did shock a lot of people, especially people that don't watch Nebraska sports a lot, Nebraska football a lot. They were pretty impressed. They got to hang in there. And also, Nebraska should have won that game. When you watch that game, you see those mistakes. If they would have made those field goals, if they would have made that extra point, they could have won that game. And I think that is like the most kind of surprising part for the world, but then also the most hopeful part for them going into Michigan State.
Yeah, you both ran through the points that were taken off the board because of missed kicks and blocked kicks, and a 3-point swing there with the extra point. When I set you both up with the many mistakes, I was thinking it seemed like there was a million false starts at one point in the game. It just seemed like every other play there was a false start that put them in a hole.
Yeah. No, that and we talked to a lot of players about that and coaches, and false starts killed that opening drive, which they still ended up getting a field goal out of. And then sportsmanlike conduct penalty, which really hurt as well. But that's something that you ask about it, they say they work on it and they work on it, but it's got to translate into the games. We talked to Matt Stickerman there on the offensive line, and yeah, he's the first one to admit that they've got to just get it right on Saturdays.
I agree with that. And then you look at those two unnecessary roughness calls that Cam Jurgens had. There's a lot of speculation on those, whether they were called for or not. But the players, a lot of them we heard from, was it Matt Sichterman?
Yeah.
That said he should not be worrying about those calls at all. He's setting the bar really high for how physical that offensive line needs to be. And they're really proud of him for working that hard. And I think they're all trying to be that physical and have that name around their offensive line as being super physical.
We got our unit grades in here from Moonbot. Let's see what the official word is here. Moonbot says the offense gets a B-, the defense gets an A-, special teams gets an F. The offensive line and the special teams will ruin our season if not fixed.
I wouldn't give the special teams an F. I mean, there's a lot more to special teams than kicking field goals and extra points.
Yes.
They had 2 punts for 100 yards. Will Pristup did pretty good. I think he had a 48er and a 52-yarder. That's pretty good. The kickoffs, they might have had one returned for like 10 yards or something like that. But I think other than special teams is hard to look outside of just those one things, but you have to think about like punting and kickoffs and other things like that. But I wouldn't give them an F as a whole, but it wouldn't be much higher than that.
It's been holding them back. I mean, it's just something every week that goes haywire with the special teams, and it's not a problem that we've been seeing only this year. I mean, this has been going on for a while here. It's just kind of bizarre. I don't know if it's Nebraska's cursed for some reason or another, but yeah, I mean, all in all, you point at those missed kicks, and I know for a fact Garrett Nelson talked about this yesterday, that he was going to bat for Connor Culp and saying that it's not his fault. There's just something wrong going on right now, and as usual, it's going to be an open competition throughout the week, and whoever wins the job for Saturday. So it's just a few things that you got to clean up there, and Adrian Martinez played a very clean game, probably one of the cleanest. The interception he had was a tremendous play by the defender.
And it actually helped out Nebraska too, that interception.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is that you couldn't have asked for a better punt on a fourth down that ended up on the 2-yard line. Is what it was, an interception, but basically that was a punt. As the way it ended up. So, yeah, the mistakes are getting fewer. We'll just put it that way. And I think if they can put it all together, watch out.
Yeah, and we need to address this injury. Obviously, a major factor to the running game is Gabe Ervin out for the season now. So if you look at the running back distribution last week, you see that Ramir Johnson then carried basically the running back load after that with 11 carries, and Ervin had 9 before he got hurt. Adrian Martinez, you can't count him, obviously, but he's a huge factor in the running game. But from the running back position, who are they going to rely on? Is it just going to be Ramir Johnson, number 1, Savion Morrison, 2?
No, it's actually, you still have a pretty healthy running back room. And today running backs coach Ryan Held said that they're going to depend a lot on Marquise Stepp moving forward. And he didn't play much at Oklahoma, but that was just the way the game was going. Ramir was hot, and Gabe was the number 1 guy going into that, and Ramirez worked his butt off to get some time in there, and it's still going to be, whoever's the hot guy. I think you see Marquise Stepp be the starter now, and then Ramir Johnson and Savion Morrison. And then Ryan Held mentioned Jacques Yanc's name a couple of times today, too, saying that he's been looking really good in practice. So you've still got a nice-looking running back room there going forward. And like we always say in football, next man up.
Yeah, especially at that running back position, there's typically some more injuries just because of the nature of it, how physical it can be. And especially in the Big Ten, this is a big running, physical up front conference. And so Matt Lubick said they kind of expect a running back to go down at some point during the year just because of the nature of that. So I think it's good this year that they have 4 other guys that they feel confident with that have a wide variety of skills that can bring, different things. And then also Marquise Stepp, a little bit of an older guy that has some experience. But also Ramir Johnson. People kind of forget about him, but he was pretty explosive against Oklahoma, and he did pretty well against them. But he knows the system really well, too. So they just have like a wide group of guys that bring different things to the table.
And we forgot to mention Marvin Scott as well. I mean, he's another guy in the mix there as well. So, guy that got a lot of playing time last year.
Welcome in, everyone, to our Huskers Live show each and every Tuesday night, 7 Central, 8 Eastern, right here at the Voice of College Football. Please subscribe, hit that bell for the notifications. That way you know not only when we're going live, but when we post fresh content to the channel. We got Greg Peterson on the line, of course, from Husker Online, as he's joined us for 35 of these deals, and also got Abby Barmore. Great to have Abby here tonight from Husker Online as well to break down Nebraska's narrow loss against Oklahoma on the road, 23-16, as the defense really stepped up, held OU in check much of the game after what appeared to be a pretty easy first drive. I thought, oh boy, here we go. Oklahoma took it right down the field, and then that was it for the entire first half for Oklahoma scoring in a 7-3 game. So the defense, it should be quite the matchup at Michigan State this week. That team's better than most expected as well. They're coming off a feel-good win at Miami where they dominated the fourth quarter and pulled away 38-17. So Michigan State, Nebraska. I like this one, Greg.
Yeah, I do too. And, I'll tell you, I got off of my flight home from San Antonio Saturday morning, noon. It was about 12:10 or so, and I was walking by the monitor, and I saw 7-3 with like 2 minutes left before halftime, and I was like, "Oh my God!" I drove 95 miles an hour home on the interstate to finally get home to see the last 2 minutes of the third quarter. So yeah, the way the defense played, my point is that I think they keep Nebraska in every single ball game left on their schedule. They have 8 games left, 5 against ranked teams. 5 of those teams are ranked this week in the top 25. And they know they have a tremendous opportunity in front of them right now. And it starts here in East Lansing. You're playing against a kind of a different type of opponent that you've seen so far, a team that's going to run right at you. They got the number 1 running back in the country right now, and they've got a very stout defense. So a very complete team, and Nebraska's got their work cut out for them. It's going to be a very physical matchup. You saw Nebraska play a very physical brand of football last week at Oklahoma, and you see how far it got them. And I think right now they're just licking their chops right now to go out there and just grind it with Michigan State. And I think you're going to see, a very defensive ball game on both sides of the ball and a low-scoring affair. But I like Nebraska's chances going into East Lansing there Saturday night. Second week in a row, Nebraska's playing on grass, too, which doesn't happen. Last time they played 2 games in a row on grass was 2014. So, they don't play on the grass that often. But I think they're really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I think this is a great opportunity for them. And like you said, the defense really has that ability to keep them in, but now it's up to the offense and especially the special teams like we've seen now to actually help them win those games. So like we know you have to like score points in the Big Ten, especially in that red zone. Nebraska didn't have much success against Oklahoma in the red zone. They had to kick 3 field goals, missed 2 of them, and so those are points left on the board that could have been, 21 points if they could have converted on those. So that's going to be an important part going into these games. In Michigan State, when they're close talent teams like this, it's probably going to be a fourth quarter game. And like we saw against Miami, Michigan State really dominated in that fourth quarter. So it's going to be important for Nebraska to carry on that momentum throughout the whole game.
Adrian Martinez played his tail off and committed no turnovers, both at the same time. So we're used to the first one, the latter, him playing his rear end off, and at the same time did not turn the ball over, excluding the one interception. That was amazing. But I'm discarding that because when it's 4th and 18, you got to take a chance. You got to just throw the ball. And like Greg said, it was more effective than giving the ball up on an incompletion. So actually, that was
instead of making that unbelievable catch, he should have just batted it down.
Yeah, that was the.
I hate to say that, but
sure, he wouldn't have been on the highlights all over the place that night.
He wouldn't have been on SportsCenter for 24 hours, though, would he?
Now, if he would have picked that ball off and then the next play, they would have strip sacked Rattler in the end zone for a touchdown. But that's just one rare occasion where the turnover actually helps you. So Adrian Martinez doing what he needed to do there, but very efficient on 19 for 25 or 289 yards and a touchdown pass as well.
And one of the bigger takeaways, too, that we haven't touched on yet is, Nebraska was almost fully healthy with their receiving core. Getting Travis Vokalek back made a huge difference in the running game as well as the passing game. You saw Xavier Betts come up big. You saw Omar Manning come up with his first touchdown as a Husker with an unbelievable catch of his own. And, and then you saw a wrinkle where all of a sudden they're putting in a big 6'9" Teddy Prohaska, a true freshman offensive tackle, and putting a number 46 jersey on him and putting him out there at tight end too. So all of a sudden you got like 4, 6, 9 guys out there blocking on the edge, and Nebraska racking up a bunch of yardage that way, running the ball. So Nebraska's a different team when they got all those guys healthy. So that's just something you got to think about too moving forward that helps this offense immensely.
Leave those comments and questions there in the live chat, and we will get to them. Joshua asking if Nebraska can still win the West. Well, technically speaking, of course they can. They've only lost a game in the Big Ten, and the Big Ten season is just barely getting underway right now. So technically, yes, I'm going to take it as I think there are other contenders in the Big Ten West, but mathematically speaking, of course, they can still win the Big Ten West and beat Michigan State, go to East Lansing and win that game, because if you don't win that game, then you put yourself in a position where you most likely have to win every other game, and that may not do it. So just aside from looking at the standings right now, get a Big Ten win.
You got to win them. You got to win, pretty much win out the way we're looking at things right now. And I think they believe they can do that. And, right now, basically you're chasing Iowa right now. You're in second place in the West right now. So we'll see what happens this weekend.
Yeah, Wisconsin's got that loss to Penn State, and that's pretty much what's happened in the Big Ten West thus far is the Illinois-Nebraska game, and then you got
Minnesota lost to
Ohio State. So there's just
doing very well.
so much out there, and I personally expect Iowa and Wisconsin to play for the division championship, but man, I think the Big Ten is loaded this year. I think it's an extremely deep conference.
And wide open, if you ask me right now.
It looks like that. I think that, Ohio State's kind of an outlier as like a extremely the most talented team that's not playing well. But, man, Iowa, Wisconsin, Penn State, Michigan State are all playing just tremendous defense and winning pretty big out-of-conference games.
I think you just named the formula for being good in the Big Ten.
Yeah. Lay down the defense. D-Rock Irish is here. And I think we had a comment in here. Greg had talked about Kenneth Walker. I don't know what his stats were against Miami. They were something like 200 yards rushing. He ran for, I think, 234 against Northwestern. The Wake Forest transfer likens him to Barry Sanders. I'm trying to think of who I would liken him to. He's not that shifty. He's a tremendous power and speed combination. I don't know if he's Eric Dickerson, who he reminds me of, but he's impressive.
Yeah. He is impressive, that's for sure. You got me lost now, trying to think of who he reminds me of. But, yeah, I mean, the numbers he's put up so far are amazing. And, this guy he's a cut and go guy. And, he picks that gap, and he's going to hit that gap, and he's going to go. So you got to get a bunch of bodies on him. You got to gang tackle him, and because arm tackle is not going to bring him down the way he's been playing. So you got to be that front seven is going to be dependent on highly here this week, and they know it, and they love it. They're up for the challenge. I can tell you that right now. They're licking their chops right now. I know. We talked to Deontre Thomas earlier today, and this is the kind of game that they've been waiting for. That defensive line has been waiting for, because it's on them this week, and they know they got backup back there. The secondary and linebacker core got their back, and so I think you might see some real nasty play by that defensive line this week.
Yeah, I think this is going to be their first really big test with a back like this and Kenneth Walker III. And especially in the Big Ten, like you see more of these like really power style running backs. And so I think that being able to contain him, even just a little bit less than 200 yards, would give them some momentum and make them feel like they could do better. And then also being against a running game, they did pretty good last year, but so important, especially in the Big Ten. There's a lot of running offenses, so it's super important to be able to hold somebody down a little bit.
These two backs that they faced at Oklahoma, Eric Gray, the Tennessee transfer, and Kennedy Brooks, who has gained 1,000 yards twice in his career, are certainly nothing to sneeze at. Two quality backs. And Nebraska didn't shut them down by any stretch, but they held them in check. They didn't do serious damage against the defense. So good running game defense against Oklahoma. And I'm going to have to do some digging to see the last time Oklahoma only scored 23 points in a football game.
5 years.
It's been a while. 5 years?
5 seasons, okay. Yeah. I talked about that when we first came on there. Yeah, I mean, that's the best defense that Oklahoma's played in 5 years.
Oh, okay. I heard you say that. I thought you meant this is the best defense that Oklahoma's played in 5 years. I got you.
The last time was Ohio State when they played Ohio State there in the playoffs. So, yeah. Yeah,
Ohio State beat them in Norman. Exactly. Kenneth Walker, $172 against Miami, 6.4 yards per carry. And I'm going to be interested to see how Nebraska can generate some offense against this Michigan State defense, because they are really tough as well. Miami put it up 59 times just trying to get something generated because they couldn't run it well. And they passed for 388 yards. But on that many pass attempts, I watched just about every play of that game. And besides Michigan State's corners giving up ground, they pretty much gave the little hitch route up all day for some reason. They could pretty much throw for 7 or 8 yards at will. But besides that, they tackled in space. They put pressure on the quarterback. They stuffed the running game. Typically physical, aggressive Michigan State defense.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing about their defense is they make tackles. They don't miss a lot of tackles on there. You know, that's the mark of a well-coached defense. And you know, they've got a coaching staff that has a pretty good track record. You know, before they all got together there at Michigan State. So yeah, I mean, Nebraska has their work cut out for them. Bottom line.
All right, Sam. We're telling individual stories from our glory days here. All right, I thought we had something about the ball game. Here we go, Dan.
He's
jumping
right.
in here.
Sam was right on there about Devaney.
What's that?
Sam was right on there about Devaney. He would bench you if you jumped off sides. Yeah. Sometimes it's tough love to learn the lesson there.
There we go. Okay, I got him. When I was a player, I misread that. When I was a player, you jump off sides or false start, Bob Devaney would bench you. The whole first string line would have been sitting at Oklahoma. Yeah, it was really hurt.
I guarantee you they would have been, at least for a series or two, until there wasn't any more jumping off sides.
Oh, Dan has seen my Big Ten power rankings. Mark, why would you rate Nebraska 13th in the Big Ten? Will you significantly bump up the Huskers in your ratings if Nebraska beats Michigan State? Well, of course I will. So understand a few things here. I rank Ohio State 7th in the Big Ten right now. Do I think they're the 7th best team in the Big Ten? No. I'm ranking it strictly on the results on the field. And right now, I had Northwestern last because they have been pretty awful. And then after that, everyone's got a better record, and Illinois has beaten Nebraska head-to-head. So that's what that comes down to, is how we rank them there. Alan, thank you so much for the thumbs up there. Appreciate that. And everybody else, please jump in to like the video.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. I like that comparison. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if Kenneth Walker's coming out of the backfield to catch as many passes as Marshall Faulk, but sure.
Yeah, you know,
wait till
he gets to the league. Maybe he will then.
Let's see. He caught 3 passes Saturday, so he obviously can. Lots of talk about the Yantee.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you get a look at the Yantee this weekend. Definitely. Looks to me like it's going to be one of those power type games that, you know, like we mentioned a little bit earlier, you saw some new wrinkles there in Nebraska's offensive scheme there with running the ball that might just be a precursor for what you're going to see more of this Saturday, and that might mean a heavy dose of Marquis Step and a little chaser of Jaquez Yant. So we'll see.
Big Red says Mel Tucker said only 2,500 Husker fans will be at the game.
Sounds about right to me. I don't know of a huge contingent of Nebraska fans that are planning on going down there.
He said that that's the amount of tickets that Nebraska asked for. And I think him saying that is like, I want there to be green in the stadium and not so much red. So I think that was a little bit of a momentum thing for the fans to like, please come here because Nebraska will probably buy our tickets. And we don't want that. They want to have like a really electric environment, especially because they have so much momentum being 3-0 or 3-0. And so especially after that huge Miami game. So they want to keep on like this is a really big game for them, like momentum wise, and also a huge one for Nebraska also.
Yep. You're right on.
Yeah, Big Ten opener for Michigan State. They're done with the non-conference games, as is Nebraska. Of course, Nebraska's faced Illinois. So, as Greg said, probably can't lose another game. I guess you could technically, and then if you run the table, you're 7-2 in the Big Ten. You may create some kind of big log jam at the top at 7-2. But yes.
and we're counting a loss at Ohio State when I mean that you need to win the rest of them. So yeah, there's that one loss that you're just bringing up right there, in my book at least.
Sure, that would have been the automatic loss that everybody assumed at one point. But hey,
but who knows?
Went to Nebraska went to Oklahoma, only lost by a touchdown, and Ohio State's not playing well right now.
No, if this is the year, hey, it'd be nice to see, especially when it's here in Lincoln. If Nebraska could come into that game on a win streak, who knows? You know, crazier things have happened in college football.
Absolutely. All right, folks. What else do we have here in the chat? Matthew, Nebraska heads into Big Ten play. This will be a true test for our defense. Back to playing in a phone booth. Yep. Sparty's physical. Mel Tucker is going to be bringing the pain to Nebraska.
Vice versa as well.
Uh-huh.
I mean, this is, Abby and I see it day in and day out. I mean, this is the best built Nebraska team for the Big Ten that we've seen since they've moved into the Big Ten. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what unfolds here the rest of the season.
Big Red says Michigan State is one of the only teams we have a winning record against. That must mean in the Big Ten. Don't know what the record is there, but the last time they got together was in the snow, right?
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, that was the 9-6 game.
Yes.
Yeah.
They haven't played that many times since Nebraska joined the Big Ten. And
all-time series, Nebraska leads 9-2. In East Lansing, Nebraska leads 2-1. Last game was Nebraska 9, Michigan State 6, 2018 in the snow in Lincoln. Nebraska's won 2 in a row against them.
Yeah, and Nebraska also beat Michigan State the year that the Spartans went to the playoffs.
Yep.
In 2015.
Yep.
And they played in a bowl game. What year was that? Like
the Alamo Bowl.
03? Yeah. In the Alamo Bowl?
Yeah. That was a fun game. Yeah. I think it was the Alamo Bowl. Or was that Michigan?
No, that they played Michigan State. Well, they did play. They played Michigan at the Alamo Bowl as well. That was in 05, but I think it was against Michigan State in 03.
Something like that. Yeah.
Beat them 17-3, if I recall correctly.
I'll tell you, there's a ton of Nebraska fans down in San Antonio. It's crazy. They love it when Nebraska comes down to the Alamo Bowl, and they haven't been down there for a while. But yeah. So I was just down there, too, and I was talking with a lot of them I ran into at the high school game I was at last Friday night.
Yeah, Greg, so fill us in on your recruiting trip, and unfortunately...
Yeah, went down to see Nebraska quarterback commit Richard Torres, and he ended up in the third quarter on an option play. After the pitch, he got tackled and rolled up on his knee, and missed the rest of the game. And at the time, everybody didn't think it was going to be much. We talked with him after the game, and he was limping around. He spent the rest of the game after he got hurt, spent on the training table with ice on his knee. But we found out yesterday that he is done for the season. So bad news for Richard Torres, but from what we did get to see, a great looking prospect. He's 6'6", all of 6'6", already 210 pounds, and can easily end up 240, 245, and you wouldn't even notice it. He's got a huge arm. He's got a cannon, and just dropping it in the breadbasket from 50, 60 yards away. And unfortunately, his wide receivers don't know how to catch the ball. Otherwise, he would have video game stats right now. But, great looking prospect, a very humble kid. Plenty of D1 schools still stopping by his school weekly trying to flip him. His head coach said that 3 schools were in last week, trying to flip him. He's locked up with Nebraska. He loves Nebraska. And another interesting thing, we found out that former Nebraska quarterback Tommy Armstrong, who's also from the San Antonio area, has been mentoring Richard, been teaching him how to read defenses, read coverages, pre-snap coverages. Has really helped Richard come a long way and really developing him quite a bit. So, there was a lot of good takeaways to come away with, but unfortunately his season is done, and maybe that cools off other schools from trying to snatch him away from Nebraska here in the future. But who knows? He's got a tremendous upside, and can't wait to see him get here in Lincoln.
We've got about 100 on the line here talking Nebraska football, as we do each and every Tuesday night. Thanks to Greg Peterson from Husker Online. So join him, the rest of the crew there. Abby Barmore joins us tonight as well. We're happy to have Abby. Husker Online, your destination for Nebraska football and athletics on Rivals, of course. And then you join Greg right here on YouTube. Just go to Husker Online right here on YouTube and check out everything that they've got available. What's over there right now, Greg?
Well, during the season here, I don't know what we produce, probably anywhere between 60 and 80 videos per week here at Husker Online. Our heavy lifting days are on Mondays and Tuesdays here. We have press conferences chock full of players and coaches, and we always got our high school coverage and our Husker rewinds that we put out there, and practice reports and all that good stuff. And always have a little bit of volleyball on there from Abby. And, we got we have basketball photo day in the morning too. So I think we'll talk to some of, the basketball players again tomorrow with, Nebraska that brought in a huge recruiting class this year with the first ever 5-star, and things are looking up here for Nebraska ball as well. So, all kinds of stuff that you can see there on Husker Online video.
Moonbot, thank you for the contribution. Appreciate that. For the Yanty. So, I want to remind everyone that you can contribute to the show. Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App. Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App. We would like to continue doing this for a long time. And you can take part in that by contributing again. Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App. Or you just contribute to the Super Chat right here as well. We would also love to have a sponsor. So if you have any connections to a sponsor, please contact me at MarkRogersTV at Gmail, whether that's for our Nebraska show or any of our shows here at the Voice of College Football.
And I did see Moonbot's. I just want to let Moonbot know I saw your email earlier, and sounds good. We can't wait to see those Yanty shirts.
Okay, so we are going to get some Yanty shirts.
Yep, they're according to Moonbot, they are boxed up and labeled, and just need to get over to the post office.
Okay. I'll get through some of these questions that are coming in now. Silent Elysium. Why is an unranked Nebraska team that usually doesn't win on the road underdogs just by a couple of points to a 3-0 number 20 ranked Michigan State team at home? I think that Nebraska has shown with the effort at Oklahoma and also Michigan State, if you really look at their resume, it's been impressive the way that they've dominated teams, but throw out the Youngstown State game because this is obviously such a higher caliber team that Michigan State did have an impressive showing at Miami, but that game didn't get out of hand until 5-6 minutes left in the game. It was a close game. Northwestern has proven to probably be the worst team in the league. And Vegas typically has a pretty good beat on these games. So I'm not going to question the point spread there. Yeah, Michigan State, I don't know what the point spread is now, but I would guess that they would be a 3 or 4 point favorite in this one.
Yeah, I haven't looked lately either, but
I think it's 3.
3?
I think that's what it was last time I saw it, yeah. But I think also that, Vegas is also looking, they watch these games too. And, I'll put it out there that arguably I think you've seen Nebraska put together the 2 best back-to-back performances that they've had under Scott Frost. The way they played against Buffalo and the way they played against Oklahoma. And, we're talking about a few mistakes here and there. And, going back to that Illinois game, they're right there in it at the end too. But, mistakes kept them from winning that game too. So, Nebraska is so close to being a 4-0 team right now. If we're not talking about some of these mistakes on special teams, it's a different story. So, Vegas knows that. Vegas sees the way Nebraska's playing. And for all the reasons you just said about Michigan State too, that, their opponents that they played aren't all that great either. I think Miami's obviously been a little bit overrated. So I think Vegas is right on there, and you give Michigan State the 3-point advantage because they're playing at home at night.
Matthew, for Greg and Abby, if Nebraska's offensive line shows minimal to no improvement the rest of the year, does Frost, I guess the missing word would be fire offensive line coach Greg Austin?
I hate to say it, Coach Austin, I love him. He's a former Husker. He played here, played in the NFL, but I think he is the number 1 guy on the chopping block if things don't happen, because I'm not saying that Coach Frost would ever want to fire Coach Austin, but I think that the pressure from upstairs would be, hey, we need to make a change here. And unfortunately, like I said, I think Coach Austin would be the number 1 guy on that chopping block if there's some changes to be made on the coaching staff.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And then we have Trev Alberts in there now. He might be putting a little bit more pressure on that. He's definitely a football guy, so he wants this team to do well, and I think that he's not afraid to speak frankly with Frost. I know Frost is a loyal guy, and he wants to stick with those coaches, but at the end of the day, you have to get it done on the field. And if that offensive line is not getting better, not showing significant improvement, when we've seen things like them looking better physically and things like that, but they're not getting better on the field, false starts and stuff like that. And I'm with Greg. I think he's that first guy on that chopping block.
I hate to say that because, I love Coach Austin. He's an awesome dude.
Yeah, he's very kind.
Big Red and others are looking for particular point totals and point spreads against Michigan State. I would say that we're in Big Ten play now. And, of course, any game, if you win any game by 1 point, it's a win. Of course, you evaluate certain games. Had they beaten Fordham by 1 point, Buffalo by 1 point, of course, you get concerned because they are supposed to win those games by wider point spreads than that. So it's more of an evaluation of the performance on the field. But now that they're in Big Ten play, I don't know why we need to demand a 2-touchdown win against Michigan State. It's on the road against a really good football team that's won all of its games. So, hey, win the game by 1 point.
Hey, you know what? I'll tell you what. Why don't you call up any Oklahoma player or coach and ask what kind of respect they have for Nebraska? I think right there they'll give you all the respect in the world what they saw there, and now you see a lot of talk going on about even trying to get this rivalry back going year in and year out because I think of what Nebraska showed, and how passionate they are about their brand, that they can rise up and play the number 3 team in the country nose to nose. So yeah, I think Nebraska, if they win, I don't care what they win by. If they win at Michigan State, that respect's going to start building, and that's how a team builds success as well. So I mean, this is the start. Like I said, they got 8 games left on their schedule, 5 ranked teams, and if you want to show something, you want the country to respect you, there you go. You go take care of business with what's left on your schedule, and they'll get all the respect they deserve.
What do you guys think is reasonable for the rest of the season in regards to Nebraska? Of course, you want to win all the games, but what do you think is a reasonable expectation, optimistic expectation?
I think they could easily go 6-2 down the stretch here. And I think that's reasonable with the confidence I see coming from this team and this coaching staff. And, I mean, people must understand that this is a damn good defense. And it's going to go a long way to win games coming down the stretch here. So 6-2 to me is, I think that this team is on that trajectory right now. And it could even be better than that.
I think if they play up to the level that they are capable of, they can be 6-2 and maybe even 7-1. But the hard part with them is, are they going to play up to the level that we know they're capable of? Like we saw that with Oklahoma, but still there were some things holding them back. The offensive line with the false starts and the unnecessary roughness calls, and then special teams too. But if they can get everything smoothed out, minimal turnovers, minimal mistakes, strong play in the trenches, I think that they definitely could be 6-2.
Wow. Well, Nebraska fans, you want to listen to those
do all
too.
Those things.
Yeah.
You want to listen to those too, because I'm not going to be quite as optimistic here.
Nor should you be.
I think it's a difficult schedule. Michigan State on the road, Northwestern looks like they're going to have one of their worst teams that we've seen recently. So they have to beat Northwestern at home. The Michigan State game, I think I'm going to give Michigan State the slight nod at home, but I think that's a winnable game for Nebraska. But I'll probably pick Michigan State to win, probably, but I think it's 60-40. Michigan.
We'll see.
That's
going to be Friday when you make your picks.
What's that?
I said we'll see there on Friday when you make your picks.
When I make my picks.
I noticed that you always make
come in
last to make your picks, so you see everybody else's picks before you make yours.
Oh no! You don't see that I throw them on Patreon before that. I've got because I pick even more than those 12 that come out.
Okay.
I pick how many games did I pick last week? 22 games.
Wow.
So I pick all the top 25 games plus. Michigan, that's going to be a tough game.
Oh yeah.
At Minnesota, that's not going to be a cakewalk.
No Mohammed Ibrahim.
Minnesota just went to Colorado, pitched a shutout, and they gave up 63 yards of total offense in that game.
Pretty impressive.
Purdue played pretty well at South Bend against Notre Dame.
Very surprising, yes.
See, the problem is there's nobody, even Northwestern isn't a gimme win. That's the closest thing they've got where you can just say, check, check, check. There's 3 wins for sure. It's a tough road, Purdue, and then, of course, this last 3, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Iowa.
It's going to be fun.
Okay.
I feel a lot better about the whole schedule now than I did before the season started, and they're 2-2. So yeah.
And you probably thought they'd be 3-1 right now. I did.
I did. Yeah.
And I picked them to go 6-6, and I thought they'd be 3-1 right now.
You know, like we've said, you got to clean up that kicking game a little bit because you can't go the rest of the year being scared to even put your kicker out there and have to go for it on fourth down all the time because that's kind of the way things are going. Maybe even have to go for 2 every time you score a touchdown. I don't know, but yeah, there's some problems there that you need to get fixed. You need to get ironed out, but I think those problems are getting fewer and far between as the season goes on, and it makes it a little easier to concentrate on those few things that are going wrong right now on Saturdays.
Okay. Dependent Fanatics going out on a limb. Anything from 6-2 to 0-8.
0-8, I really don't see that happening.
It's pretty wide range prediction there.
And everybody forgets Nebraska's always good for one win just that comes out of nowhere. It pretty much seems like so. Is this weekend that win? I don't know. Or is that game against Michigan that win? I don't know. But like I said, going to be fun to see how this whole thing plays out. But I'm feeling a lot better than I did, say, after that Illinois loss or after that Fordham win. I feel way better.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think after that Illinois loss, everyone's head was kind of spinning a little bit with what the capability of this team was with all those mistakes. But I do feel better after the Oklahoma game, seeing what they did against the number 3 team in the country. And I think they have a good opportunity to create some momentum this weekend and really get into that Big Ten play. But yeah, it's a hard schedule. They're going to have to really grind it out. And it'll be interesting to see how it works out.
Yeah, this league, I think, again, I said this a few minutes ago, I just think it's a tremendous league, and I think that it's very deep. I don't know if there are any elite teams in the league now that Ohio State's showing some major vulnerabilities, but man, Penn State's really good, and Michigan, and all these teams play defense, except Ohio State right now. Iowa, my goodness, they're good. Yeah. And even some teams that are a little bit lower, like Purdue goes to Notre Dame, and they were in that game all the way until the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game. And Minnesota goes out to Colorado and does what they did.
I didn't see that coming. Yeah.
Indiana's lost 2 games. And if you really uncover the game that they played against Cincinnati, they, number 1, had their best defensive player kicked out of the game for targeting early in the second half. Number 2, they were down 30-24 by 6 points with like 3 minutes left in the game, and they had the ball inside the Cincinnati 10 to go in for the lead score, and they fumbled, ended up losing by 2 touchdowns. Then in Indiana, nobody's talking about Indiana because they've lost a couple of games. I just think the league is really good. Like Illinois went to pretty much since they played Nebraska, they looked bad for a couple of weeks. They went to Virginia and just got torched. Then they come back and they play Maryland. And Maryland's got 2 tremendous wide receivers, like 2 NFL wide receivers. And, of course, Talia Tagovailoa throwing the ball. And they couldn't put up much of anything on a Friday night against Illinois and kicked a last-second field goal to win that game. There are going to be a ton of unpredictable outcomes, I think, in this conference. So as soon as people think they've got it pegged –
no, this is it. This is a smash mouth league. This is a physical league, and that's what you're going to see now for the rest of the season. You're going to see all these Big Ten teams just go to battle and beat the hell out of each other. And the biggest, the strongest, and the deepest are going to win.
I'll tell you that it was only 10 days ago that people were looking at my preseason prediction that Ohio State was going to go 11-1, and were telling me how stupid I was, because how in the world could Ohio State possibly lose a game? They're 2 touchdowns better than everybody on their schedule, and who in the world? Ryan Day never loses a Big Ten game or a regular season game. And now 10 days later, when I'm saying I don't know what they're going to do, they could lose 2 or 3 more games, or they could right the ship and be what they've been for the last 10 years and still go 11-1. People are telling me I'm crazy to think that they could possibly still go 11-1.
Sure, they could easily.
I don't know what's going to happen.
It's the Ohio State, right?
I know that there's like 5 or 6 really good teams in this league at least, and then even the 3 or 4 after that are pretty good.
Like we've said a couple of times, Nebraska's got 5 of them left that are ranked on their schedule. So, yeah. Good league. Very good league.
Yeah, in terms of us finding out anything this week, again, the biggest game in the league is Michigan State and Nebraska. Wisconsin's got an interesting one against Notre Dame at Soldier Field.
That's right. Soldier Field, yeah.
Yeah. So that's going to tell us a lot about those 2 teams. And other than that, Illinois plays Purdue, and that's it for the Big Ten in terms of games inside the league. And then after that, all of it's going to be Big Ten games.
Interesting. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
So basically, Nebraska was given a schedule by the league: Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State. Okay, were the 3 non-division games. Boy, they took a pretty tough draw on that one.
Yeah, I mean, why didn't they, substitute one of those for Penn State? I don't know. But yeah, the league's been punishing Nebraska for the last couple of years, I think.
Well, I know that they punished them to start league play. When Nebraska first joined the Big Ten, I thought it was pretty obvious that the Big Ten lined them up against Ohio State and Wisconsin and a few other teams like that, like for about 3 years.
Yeah, but I think that.
But now they've got a rotation, right, Greg? They've got a set rotation. They're not making a schedule every year.
Do they? I don't know. But I think it go. I mean, what was it last year when Scott Frost talked about you don't get Indiana enough on your schedule? I don't think the Big Ten took kindly to that when then Indiana turns around and beats Nebraska right after he says that. And, basically Scott Frost begging for some of the weaker opponents, on the other side of the conference is what that kind of sounded like, instead of getting stuck with all these big boys every year. Scott Frost would rather play Maryland and Rutgers and Indiana in that slate.
I think everyone would.
Yeah.
If anybody in the chat knows what the Big Ten formula is, I just know that, of course, everybody plays everyone in their division, then they play 3 games in the other division, but I don't know what that rotation looks like, or if there is a rotation, it should be a fair, equitable rotation for everyone is what it should be.
I don't think it doesn't work that way.
I think they just grab 3 teams.
I think it's random. I don't think there is a set rotation on it because, my God, how long has it been since Nebraska played Michigan?
Yeah.
I mean, it's very strange.
I think 2018 maybe.
I think it's been longer than that, hasn't it?
2018. Good
Okay.
call
No,
by you,
because-
Abby.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like
56-10. Sorry to bring it up,
low-key
right?
disaster.
Yeah.
It was a really.
Yeah.
It was like, what is the 4th loss of the 6, or was it the 5th?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, that was Frost's first year, 0-6 to start. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a 56-10 game. But so they played Ohio State 18, 19, 20, and now 21. That's 4 consecutive years, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem like a rotation.
No, doesn't it? It's strange.
They just want Ohio State and Nebraska to play.
I get that.
People are going to watch the game.
You can get eyeballs on that game. That's for sure.
All right.
I mean, you think about that game last year or 2 years ago. That was game day was here in Lincoln for that game. So I mean, yeah, that's a big deal. That's what the Big Ten's been waiting for Nebraska to be Nebraska since they joined the conference. And when you bring college game day has only been here once in the last how many years? That's not right, and that's what ESPN, everybody's begging for Nebraska to be back and to have that Nebraska Ohio State game mean something instead of just a beatdown every year.
Okay, I'm going to do some homework on this. For one thing, this is what I found out, is that in the even years, the East teams play the 5 home games and the 4 road games. And on the odd years, like 2021, the West has 5 home games and 4 road games. And so starting in 2022, next year through 25, so that's 4 seasons, these games are protected, meaning they'll play every year. Maybe they do have a 4-game rotation, a 4-year rotation with these teams, because for those 4 years, Nebraska is going to play Michigan all 4 years. Well, they're playing them this year. Why would they then start another rotation of... Anyway, I don't get it. But I'm looking at the protected crossovers from 2022 through 25. That's 4 seasons. Illinois, Penn State, Indiana, Purdue. Indiana, Purdue, they always protect that game. It's the old Oak and Bucket game. They play every year. Anyway, Iowa, Rutgers, Maryland, Northwestern, Michigan, Nebraska, Michigan State, Minnesota, Ohio State, Wisconsin. I would think that they've got to have a formula. They can't just grab teams every year.
I'm more confused now than I ever have been.
I appreciate that I could do that for you.
Let me fire off an email to Kevin Warren and see what I can find out. If he'd even return my email.
Dependent Fanatic, Ohio State does not get Illinois every year. They do not play them this year.
Probably good news for the Buckeyes this year.
All right, folks. Well, I don't see anything else left to get at here, except Alan letting everyone know that the Big Ten hates Nebraska.
I agree.
I thought the Big 12 hated Nebraska. That was one of the reasons why they left.
No, that was Texas hated Nebraska, not the Big 12.
I thought everyone hates Nebraska.
Well, then how come everybody wants Oklahoma and Nebraska to play every year? I think that Oklahoma likes Nebraska.
All right, folks. We like all of you, and we like for you to be here every Tuesday night at 8 Eastern, 7 Central for our Nebraska live show, and bring some other folks in here with you. So next Tuesday, that's the homework assignment. My homework assignment is that the show's going to be on time. I'll hold myself accountable, and then I'll expect all of you to, because even when I don't ask you to hold me accountable, there's usually about 25 comments about how I'm late.
Yeah, I know.
So that'll be up to me. I'll be on time, and all of you, which we peaked at around 170 people online, all of you grab 2 or 3 people, and we'll have like 500 next week. How's that sound? That's the deal. Greg, what you got going on this week?
Kind of a slow week. I'm staying in town for a couple of high school games on Thursday night and Friday night, and then I'll be home watching the Nebraska-Michigan State game from the comfort of my own home. So, yeah, kind of a week off.
Follow Greg on Twitter. We especially are posting his Twitter handle tonight here as soon as I can find it again. And Abby, what's going on with you this week?
I got a couple of volleyball games. I cover Husker volleyball, so they play Northwestern on Wednesday, and then they play at Northwestern, and they play Iowa here at the Devaney Center. So their first week of Big Ten play, kind of also along with football. So it'll be a fun week. They kind of get a couple of warm-up matches before they get into, I think Penn State is their next pretty big match. So it's been pretty fun to cover them, and they've been kind of going through like a 3-game losing streak. So they kind of need these warm-up matches just a little bit.
Very good. Well, we appreciate you being here, Abby. You know that you're welcome anytime.
Of course. Thanks, guys, for having me.
Nebraska Live, everyone, Tuesday night. This is the place to be, talking Nebraska football, and hopefully after a win against Sparty. All right, Greg, Abby, good to see you, and we'll catch up with you next week. Enjoy the game.
Sounds good. Will do.